Today I'm going to show you how to install Iron Cross's sidearm steps on this 2018 Ford F-250. Now this is going to be the same installation from 2017 to 2019 on the F-250 and 2015 to 2019 on the Ford F-150. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're underneath our truck on our driver's side. We're right underneath our driver's side door, and you're going to see two sets of studs, one right here and the other one right here. This is going to be our first and second bracket location. Since this truck has never had running boards on it before, our studs are all painted over, so before we put our brackets on and start threading bolts on here, we're going to need to clean these studs off. To do that, I have a 8M by 1.25 die out of a tap and die set. So now we have our first set of threads cleared off. You can see that the tips are still white, but the actual threads are a metallic color. We're going to take one of our nuts, and we're just going to thread that over the top to make sure it goes on nice and smooth. Alright, so we're good there. We're going to go ahead and try this on all of them, and then we'll move on to our next set of studs and clear those off, and then our last set. So now that we have all of our studs cleaned off, we're going to go back to our front mounting location that's going to be closest to our driver's side front tire. And the two studs that are basically right on top of each other, those are the two that we're going to use. We're going to take our bracket and slide it over the top of those studs. Now, in your kit, you're going to have 6 brackets total, 3 for each side. You're going to have 4 that are going to look identical, and you're going to have 2 that are different. The 2 that are different are going to go on the front driver and the front passenger side. The middle and back brackets are going to be all the same. So once you get your bracket on, we're going to take a washer, a lock washer, and a flange nut without a serrated side. So you're going to have a flange nut with a serrated side in your kit and one without. We're going to take the one without and put that for these brackets. We're going to do that at the top and bottom. And we're just going to leave those loose for right now. Now when we move down our rocker panel, we're going to come to our next set of studs. This is going to be our center bracket. You'll notice that the studs are actually opposite of what they were on the first one, and that's also going to cause our bracket to be opposite of the first bracket as well. Again, we're going to use the bottom and the top stud. Once we get that into place, we're going to use a flat washer, a lock washer, and a flange nut on the bottom and top stud. And again, we're just going to leave that loose for right now. So now if we follow our rocker panel down towards our rear tire, there's going to be our third and last set of studs. It's going to be the same exact bracket as the middle or center bracket. We're just going to set that over the top. And again, we're going to use a washer, lock washer, and our flange nut on the bottom and top. Again, leaving those loose until we get the board on so that we can make adjustments to it. Now with all of our brackets in place, we can take our board and then we're going to align it with the 3 holes at the bottom of our bracket, and that is where our board is actually going to attach to our bracket. Now we're ready to grab our driver's side board. Now when you put this board up against the driver's side, your steps should be facing towards the rear of the truck, and you should also have your Iron Cross plate towards the front. That's how you know you got the right one. Now when you flip this over, you're going to notice that there's a channel in the back, and you're going to have some brackets with a button head bolt in your kit. So those brackets are going to slide through the channel like that. The tabs are going to keep it in that channel, and the tabs here are actually going to line up to the bracket that's on the truck. Now with our bracket inside of our board, we're going to then lift it up to our brackets on our truck. The 2 tabs are going to slide into the slotted holes at the top and bottom. Our button head bolt, which is going to be locked inside this bracket, is going to go through our center hole just like that. And then we're going to use our serrated flange nut on the back to hold everything in place. So now I have a friend helping me hold up our board. We're going to take our bracket and we're going to slide it inside that channel, inside the back of the board, and then line that up to our first bracket. It should line up like that. And then we're going to take our serrated flange nut and just thread that on. And again, we're not going to tighten this down just yet. We're going to wait until we get them all on, adjust the board, and then we can tighten it on. So now we're going to do the same thing on our middle bracket. We're going to take our bracket and bolt, slide that into the channel, line that up with our bracket on the truck, like that, and then thread on our serrated flange nut. And again, just leave that loose for right now. Now we're at our third bracket, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Slide our small bracket into the channel in the back of the board, line up our holes like that, and then throw on our serrated flange nut. Now before we tighten anything down, this board should be able to slide back and forth. What we're going to do is go back to the front, align everything, and then we're going to tighten down the board to the bracket, and then the bracket to the truck. So now what we need to do is align this board to our two doors on this side. Now on this particular truck, what I like to do is have the edge of the board line up with the end of the door. And when we do that, we'll have this side lined up at the end of the door, and that'll also line up the back side with the end of the door. So now that it's evenly spaced, we'll go back underneath and tighten everything down. So now we're back at our first bracket, and we're going to tighten down our serrated flange nut that's holding our board to our bracket. We're going to lift up on the board to make it flush at the top with our bracket, and then we're going to use a 13mm to tighten this down. And then we'll move to our middle bracket. Next, we'll tighten up our middle bracket serrated flange nut, again with our 13mm. Then we'll go to our back bracket. Then we can tighten up our rear bracket flange nut, again with the 13mm. Again, making sure you're lifting up on the board to make the top of our bracket even with the top of our board. Now that our board is secure to all of our brackets, we can go through and tighten up our top two bolts at each bracket. Those are going to be 13mm as well. We're going to start at the rear, and we're just going to snug those up. Now you don't want to go too tight on these. You don't want to accidentally rip out these studs, so just be very careful. We'll move to the middle bracket. Now we're going to tighten up our center bracket, again using a 13mm. And then move to our first bracket. Now we're back at our front bracket. We can tighten up our last two flange nuts. Again, using that same 13mm, not going too tightly on these. Now you're going to repeat all of those steps on the passenger side. That's going to complete the installation. If you have any questions, give us a call or visit us online.